The moment someone crosses into the five-figure range of spending power, something subtle begins to happen inside their financial decision-making. And it often goes unnoticed because the change does not feel dramatic, it feels normal, comfortable, even reasonable. Imagine someone who has finally reached a point in life where a purchase around $50,000 no longer feels unimaginable. Perhaps it's a car, perhaps a renovation, perhaps a business investment, perhaps a degree program or a relocation decision. On the surface, this moment appears like progress, a sign that financial stability has improved. Yet behavioral economists have long observed that decisions in this price range carry a unique psychological weight. They are large enough to alter long-term financial trajectories, yet small enough that many people approve them quickly without applying the same analytical caution they would use for truly massive financial commitments. This is where what we might call the $50,000 decision mistake begins to take shape. It is not a single purchase or one specific product. Instead, it represents a threshold where the brain transitions from scarcity thinking to comfort thinking. When people operate under tight financial constraints, almost every expense receives careful attention. Grocery totals are checked, subscriptions are questioned, and even moderate purchases feel significant. But once income grows and savings appear stable, the brain starts categorizing certain purchases as manageable. A $50,000 commitment often lands exactly inside this psychological gray zone. It feels too routine to require deep analysis and too small to trigger fear. The interesting part is that the mathematical consequences of these decisions are rarely small. Money behaves differently when it is given time to compound, and even moderate sums can reshape future wealth, depending on how they are used. Consider a simplified example. $50,000 placed into a long-term investment that grows at an average of 7% annually does not remain $50,000 for long. Over 10 years, that amount grows to roughly $98,000. Over 20 years, it grows to about $193,000. Over 30 years, it approaches nearly $380,000. The original decision, therefore, carries consequences that quietly stretch across decades. Yet the brain rarely visualizes those future numbers when evaluating the original purchase. Instead, it focuses on immediate context. A nicer car may seem justified compared with cheaper alternatives. A home renovation may appear reasonable because property values might rise. A professional certification may appear logical because it could improve career opportunities. Each of these choices can absolutely be valid under the right circumstances. The problem is not the purchase itself, but the way the human mind compresses long-term trade-offs into short-term comfort. Psychologists sometimes describe this pattern through the concept of mental accounting. People do not treat all dollars equally, even though mathematically they are identical. A tax refund might feel like bonus money. A salary increase may quickly become part of lifestyle expectations. Similarly, a $50,000 commitment can become mentally separated from long-term savings simply because it is framed as a one-time decision rather than a permanent allocation of capital. There is also a powerful identity shift that happens around this level of spending. When someone becomes capable of making decisions at this scale, they often begin to see themselves differently. They are no longer simply managing daily expenses, they are making structural life decisions. That shift can encourage confidence, which is valuable, but it can also reduce the level of scrutiny applied to mid-sized financial commitments. A person who would spend weeks researching a $100 purchase when money was tight might spend only a few hours evaluating something hundreds of times larger. History shows many examples where financial systems amplify this pattern. During housing booms, individuals often approved renovations or property upgrades in the tens of thousands because rising prices created the impression that the money would quickly return through appreciation. During periods of strong job markets, expensive vehicles or lifestyle upgrades appeared reasonable because future income felt secure. In both cases, the decisions were rarely reckless in isolation. They simply accumulated faster than long-term financial growth could support. This is why the mathematics behind mid-sized financial choices matter more than they initially appear. Extremely large purchases usually trigger caution because they clearly threaten financial stability. Very small purchases rarely change long-term outcomes, but decisions in the middle range, particularly around $50,000, exist in a strange zone where they are easy to approve, yet powerful enough to redirect long-term wealth trajectories. One useful way to evaluate these choices is to temporarily zoom out and imagine the capital as part of a system rather than a single event. Instead of asking whether a purchase feels affordable today, it can help to ask what role that money could play across the next 10 or 20 years. Sometimes the answer will still support the purchase because the value it provides in quality of life or career opportunity overweighs the financial trade-off. In other cases, the long-term perspective may reveal that the decision is less neutral than it initially appears. The larger insight here is not about avoiding spending or treating every purchase as a mistake. Money exists to support life, and meaningful experiences or improvements often require significant investment. The deeper lesson is that certain financial thresholds quietly shift how the brain evaluates trade-offs. When people begin making decisions at the scale of tens of thousands of dollars, the analytical process that once protected their finances can soften without them realizing it. Understanding this psychological shift can restore balance to the decision process. When mid-sized financial choices are evaluated with the same clarity applied to either very small or very large expenses, the outcomes become more intentional. The decision itself may remain exactly the same, but the reasoning behind it becomes more grounded in both mathematics and long-term thinking. And that small adjustment in perspective often changes how people approach every major financial crossroad that follows.